I know. All right, and we're live.
Hey, Jeff McKinney.
Hey, everybody watching out there in TV land. So a little bit more to the group. We're just going to start the show. Like I'm going to get, and then going way back, I'll do the intro, and then I'll do the countdown since I can't do the music, and then we'll just get into it. So we haven't done a show like this in like 3 years, but
so Eccles might do a lot of like dramatic pauses, like showing that I'm gonna put some music here.
You know, my equipment's small enough that I could have just packed it all in. At this point, I'm really mad that I didn't at least bring the one piece I need to allow the music to wrap through so I could do that, but oh well. All right. I think we have everything ready to go. Jeff, do we have any viewers?
None that have announced themselves.
Okay. I was gonna say, do you guys get a lot of viewers?
A handful.
Live viewers, yeah, maybe like I think one time we maxed out at 5.
But still, to watch a podcast, there's a chance that we're on the big screen in a brewery right now down here in Fort Myers.
Oh wow!
So,
is there a reason that you think that, or?
Well, I was in the brewery today, at Pointy Bell, and we were talking about it, and they're like, "Well, what time do you record?" I'm like, "Oh, about 10:30." It's like that's right around the time we close, so we'll just put it up on the big screen while we're wrapping everything up. So, so if that's on and you're a patron, get out. They're done.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, big screen. Is there anything in my teeth this week? Okay.
I think there may be.
Shit. It's salad.
Is there normally?
There usually is some salad in his teeth at some point during the show.
Hey, at least he's healthy.
April's like, why did I agree to come on this show again? I forgot how stupid you guys are. Okay.
No, it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. All right, let's do this. Here we go. Let me see. Yes. All right, I'm marking it at 10:32 p.m. This week on episode 220 of the We Like Drinking podcast, we'll be discussing all things cocktail related with the founder of Swig and Swallow cocktail mixers, April Wachtel. So crack open your beers, uncork that wine, and let's get drinking. Oh my goodness. Let me tell you, without the actual music, that's really, really corny to do.
That's fun. I'm just envisioning surprise bass players in my head.
So I'm wondering if he's checking if I have a concussion and you're just checking to see how many fingers you're holding up.
That's been known to happen. So cheers, my podcast drinking friends, and welcome to Happy Hour 220 of the only 2-time award-winning topical beer and wine education podcast focusing on what, Jeff Solomon?
The F word.
That's right. We like to have the funsies on the show. And if you like what you're hearing in this episode, considering help us out by becoming a patron of the show by visiting welikedrinking.com/pledge to find out how you can help us keep the show going. All right, we have so much to follow tonight, so much to talk about. Let's get right into it. Find out who we're drinking with and what they've got. What, Jeff Solomon?
I was just thinking of something funny. You ever think of something funny and you laugh to yourself?
Never.
It happens.
I never do that. You heard him right there. We've got our wine blogger, Jeff Solomon.
My name is Jeff.
We've got our beer brewer, John Ruyak.
Hey, folks.
And I am your host, Jeff Eccles. And our guest tonight first appeared on the show for episode 190. She is the co-founder and CEO of Swig and Swallow, the mixer that comes ready to mix with alcohol in its bottle. They have 6 of the most popular drinks available and can even find them at airports in their TSA friendly bottles ready for your next flight. Please help us welcome April Wachtel. Welcome to the show, April.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
So glad to have you back. So excited to talk to you because I mean, my biggest concern is that you followed through on Jeff Solomon's business advice, and we're never going to hear the end of it. But but before we get to that, let's find out what's in everybody's glasses. John, let's start with you tonight.
Oh, I brought home the brewer's favorite, India Black Ale.
Oh, the India Black Ale, always a favorite. April, I know I saw a tequila bottle flying around there earlier.
It was flying. So I've got some Don Julio Blanco.
Nice.
100% agave tequila from Jalisco.
Are you just drinking it, my brother?
You just drinking it straight, or are you mixing it with anything?
I am, because I was. I mean, it's delicious as is.
Yes, it is.
But it was also last minute, as you guys saw, last minute acquisition. So I forgot about the most important part of the show, which is drinking.
We like to do that.
Last minute acquisition. You just reached into your desk and put it from one drawer to the top of the desk.
I mean, no. We have a ton of alcohol here. So I'm at the office right now. We have a ton of alcohol here. This was the one I chose to indulge in.
And it was a very good choice. Jeff Solomon.
I don't know if you guys know this. I used to work at a record store. And so I had to pick this up. This is the Breakside India Pale Ale. It's with Splendorious Northwest hops. These guys are out of Portland, Oregon. And I had to buy this because look at this tasting note right here. It tastes like vinyl sounds. So
smooth.
A little crackly. A little crackly. But continuous.
And how is it?
It's splendorious.
Nice.
It's very nice. It's a very nice it's got that West Coast feel. Like it's definitely hop centric, but it's got a nice malty backbone, and it's coming in at a very modest 6.2% alcohol. Like they should have labeled this a session. Mm-hmm. A vinyl session.
Oh.
Yeah.
Awesome. Can you guys see this?
Looks like a lighthouse.
Looks like a lighthouse. So I don't know if you know this, listeners. I am on spring break with the family right now. I am down in Fort Myers, Florida, and they're party with the pirates. So yeah, I got out to a brewery today, and I went to this one. Oh, it's backwards for you guys, but this is Point Ebell Brewing Company here in Fort Myers. This place has been here for 5 years already. I talked to Jordan, the brewer and owner there, for a little bit. They've got a nice IPA. They've got a New England IPA, a lot of stouts, John. Surprisingly, the water in Fort Myers is good for stouts and pilsners. So they've got a
little bit salty. It's a little bit salty.
They had a smoked porter, they had an imperial, they had a barrel aged imperial, but I went with the Sanibel Red. I brought home an Irish red from them that really was hitting it on all cylinders for me. So cheers to the good folks at St. Abel. Thanks for hosting me today. And now let's get into the show. It's our favorite part of the show. We get to do our little bit called wine, beer, or pop culture reference. So this is where I give everybody a term, and they try to tell me if it's a wine term, a beer term, or some kind of pop culture reference. The term this week is oolage.
Ooh, what's the spelling? I think I actually have heard this before.
Yep. So is oolage a wine term, a beer term, or some kind of pop culture reference? We want to know how we spell it. You spell it Ullage. No umlauts, John Ruyak. No umlauts. All right. So John looks confident. So I'm going to go with Jeff Solomon because he's making a crinkle face right now.
This is horrible. Ullage, Ullage.
Yes.
I mean, and like the thing is, like, Eccles is known for butchering words that are in different languages, and I'm just wondering, like, if this is of a Spanish origin and it's really Ullage. Like, this is no umlauts either. This is so nuts to me. Ullage. I don't know. I think the thing is John's kind of perking up a little bit, and when things are in his wheelhouse, he's going for it. So I'm going to say that Ullage is some sort of term related to beer, like in the brewing process. It has something to do with like scooping up all the like chunder at the bottom of the vats afterwards and throwing it against the wall. That's the Ullage.
Okay, I didn't realize they did that in breweries, but you learn something new.
In the good ones, you do that. That's where you make all your sour ales.
Okay. All right, April, do you have any ideas on what Ullage, or I guess maybe Ullage, if Solomon, you want to go to different oriented?
Right. So I think you might remember this from last time. I don't know much about wine.
Okay.
At some point, I thought I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've heard this word before, but I thought it was spelled differently. I thought it was with Oullage.
Okay.
And I thought it was a reference. I thought it was a wine term referencing something to do with the barrels, like rotation of barrels or something comparable.
Okay.
So I'm going to go wine.
Okay.
Even though there's a whole bunch of reasons why that might be totally incorrect.
Okay.
That's my vote.
So Jeff is going with chunder thrown against brewery walls.
Yeah.
April is going with a wine term, something to do with barrels, and John Ruyak is going to go with.
It sounds like some sort of weird porridge made from dribble buckets from trolls that live under bridges or something. I have no clue.
Very specific.
That is very specific.
I have no clue at all.
So is that a pop culture reference then?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Everybody goes with one. I always love it when we get that. The winner this week is April Wachtel, our guest. Come through. The Ullage is the loss of wine through evaporation from the barrel.
The angel's share.
The angel's share, or the devil's cut if you're talking about a whiskey side of it. What, Jeff? You look so frustrated right now.
Hey, man, first of all, if anyone knows anything from the Jim Beam commercials, the devil's cut is what seeps into the oak. And then you scrape the alcohol off of the oak like honey from a beehive. That's the devil's cut, man. But as you're saying this, I'm like, of course that's what the hell Ullage is. I totally knew that. What the? Because I always remembered it kind of sounded like spillage, but it was the Ullage.
That was getting you back for Pomard last week, because that would embarrass me when I couldn't get
yes, son of a bee sting. Okay.
All right. We're going to take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back after this.
Wine Still Sold Out offers flash sale on outstanding cut. WTSO Wine Still Sold Out offers flash sale prices on outstanding wines from around the world with free delivery. To learn what is currently available, go to WTSO.com/WLD, sign up for email notifications, or download the WTSO app to your phone. It's available for Apple and Android. For example, in the last week, WTSO customers had the incredible opportunity to purchase a 94-point Mendoza Malbec for $17.99, a 92-point Willamette Valley Pinot Noir for $18.99, even a 2013 Calistoga Cab for only $24.99. All of these and other wines are available with free shipping, and more are coming every day. So check it out, WTSO.com/WLD, and use the coupon code when checking out, WLD2019, for an extra $5 in savings.
Awesome. I love the live reads.
You never know what's going to happen, guys.
All right. So as usual, our guest is looking at us like, did I come on this show to talk to you guys or just watch you? But welcome to the show, April.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's so great to have you back. Let's see. The last time you were on the show, you were I think just getting to the point of the TSA friendly bottles, those are out there now. Before we get to that, we should probably just give a recap. Swig and Swallow is the bottle, plastic bottle with the mix already in it. You add the alcohol of your choice to it, give it a shake, and then you can either pour it into a glass with ice, add whatever garnishes you want, maybe some sparkling water, and you are good to go, as they say.
Right. So they're fresh, all natural mixers for cocktails. As you said, we sell the bottles half full for easy, foolproof mixing in the bottle itself. So the balance is already perfect between the citrus and the sweet, and then we only allow enough space to add the appropriate amount of alcohol. You can always add more, obviously, at a later time, but this prevents kind of over mixing with the wrong ratios. So yes, so that's we now have the TSA friendly size out. So we currently have 3 different sizes. So the TSA friendly, as you can expect from the name, you can take it through security. So each of the bottles contains only 2.25 ounces of the mixer. And so we actually even sell them on our website for to a quart bag. So you can just use that for travel. So they're super convenient and very delicious.
And very delicious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have 6 drinks in those, correct?
Yep. So we have 6 flavors total. You might notice if you are diligent looking at our website, there's a daiquiri in the party size, which makes 10 drinks, and then the size that makes 2 drinks, which is the mini, and it's a gimlet in the TSA size. It's all the same. It's just a different name. So it's basically with a daiquiri, it's with rum, and then with a gimlet, it's vodka or gin. So we're just changing all of them over to gimlet.
Oh, okay.
Little secret. Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice.
So that was going on since you were last on the show. And you don't do much with your time. You're not busy at all. Since you've been on our show, we've done the TSA. You have gotten another podcast going, correct?
Yes. Well, I've resuscitated it.
Right.
It was alive once, and then it was dormant, sleeping.
As they happen, they hibernate every now and then.
Yes. And now it's back, and it's more confused than it ever was.
There's beauty in confusion.
April, you shouldn't copy what we do. You should.
Yeah, I thought we trademarked confusion.
Confusion and chaos is not the way to go. But this is called Movers and Shakers podcast, correct?
Yes, it is. It's Movers as Shakers on the interwebs.
And what is the theme of this podcast?
Okay, so it was about people and ideas that are changing the beverage landscape. So it was dormant for almost a year. So it was running for about a year, it was dormant for almost a year. And basically what happened in that time is I became really interested in the greater food world and entrepreneurship. I mean, I've been living it for years, but really started getting interested in other people's stories and wanted to share those. And so it's expanding basically to include food and to include entrepreneurship. So I actually just had an interview with somebody on social media who's a very big influencer in the cocktail space. I've got one coming up with an executive coach who's also a female entrepreneur. I've got some coming up with somebody who sold a spirits brand to a much larger, to a celebrity, let's say. Okay. And so it's basically interesting people that I run into who have interesting stories to share.
Awesome. That sounds really interesting, really fun. Jeff Solomon?
Oh, man. I do have to say, I really enjoyed listening to your latest episode of the Movers and Shakers podcast with the apartment bartender. I thought that was great. And, I think it's fun too, when you might know somebody in some way, and then you hear them being fired up about something else. I think a lot of us on the show and a lot of our listeners to the show, really, we have come to know and love you from this beverage perspective, April, and it was really neat to hear you still coming from that angle, but talking about business and talking about just other things that you're really passionate about. I can't help but also relate that to some of your latest YouTube video blogs.
Oh my God, I'm so flattered that you took the time.
And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that series, and also maybe a little bit about you were talking a little bit about being influenced by this guy named Gary V that some of us wine folks are really into. So I thought maybe you could talk about that aspect a little bit.
The connection. Yes. So I'm a huge podcast person in general, and I'm always on the lookout for opportunities to learn. And there's people of all styles that are appealing to me. So there's some people. So for a long time, one of my favorite podcasts was called On Being, and it's big questions of meaning. So it's very like the host is very chill and calm and interviews people who are philosophers and rocket science. So I've got that side, which is like I like everything from that end all the way to, I've been listening to a bunch of podcasts on venture capital and things like that. So Gary Vee just kind of popped up in the middle of this. He's on this sort of crusade as a wine person, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who has built, a couple of very successful businesses, and it's kind of segued into somewhat inspirational, I guess, speaking. Like he's definitely a luminary and is inspiring, I would say hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people worldwide. So I just came across his content. And I think the primary value add initially for me is that he talks a lot about digital marketing and basically breaking through the noise in today's world. And this is one of my two weakest points. I've learned everything about running a business along the way. And this is one of the two things that I knew nothing about coming into this. So I just started listening to a ton of his stuff. And then again, there's the motivational, inspirational stuff that comes along with it. And he's incredibly consistent about releasing content. It's like every single day he releases podcasts. They're cutting up his content in video form, and it's showing up on LinkedIn and on Facebook and this and that. So I just find the whole story really compelling. And in terms of strategy, I think that the lives that we lead with my business, that you guys lead, that my friends who are running businesses lead, I think these are all really compelling stories, and most of us don't know how to get the message out there. And so what his content did for me is made me realize not only can I do this, but it's also essential to get content out there, because in kind of short order, all of these channels are going to get filled up. And quite frankly, you want a bit of a track record showing, how you got from point A to point B, even if it's just for you. And that's, I think for us, it's like, now with my business, we don't struggle in the same ways we did 2 years ago. We have our own challenges now, but 2 years ago, I mean, like we can get into the details, but like we were going through some shit, can I even swear on your podcast?
Yes.
Fuck no.
Wait a second. There's different answers here. But I mean that, I think that the documenting the process and showing, I like showing progress rather than just showing perfection. To me, perfection is not that interesting without all of the backstory behind it. So I guess, again, there's no clear, true intention with either the podcast or the vlog, except it's highlighting interesting stuff that I encounter and documenting some of the experience we're having. Because again, my expectation, my hope, my dream, and again, I believe this to be true, is that in a few years, we're going to be very successful at what we're doing. And I want to remember all the bullshit we had to do and all the hard work we had to put in, and I mean, I say bullshit like it's a pain in the ass, but it's true. Today, by the time I'm done today, it's going to be a 20-hour day. And that's the sort of thing that, again, I want documentation of, because I never want to forget that, even if it's just for me. So, so that's kind of a long story of how sort of the Gary V ethos and message has really resonated with me, and reminds me that these are super valuable things to think of when you're in the mix. Because if you're like, woo, I'm successful, it's way too late. Right. Because then it's kind of boring.
And it's really good though, because you've really taken that to heart. And it's weird. It's got to be weird a little bit with this episode for our listeners, because they may remember you from your last episode that you were on, and not much has changed since then for them. But for like me, as someone who's been following all of this stuff for you, like I've watched this evolution that you've had, especially with your vlog, you know, how from vlog 1 to what do you want, like 7 now with a bonus, like the rapid in elevation of quality of your vlog has been remarkable, and content that you're delivering has been remarkable. So
thank you.
I feel like I know you so much more, and so I'm wanting to go talk about all this stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, so that's what we're trying to do with our listeners, is kind of bring them up to speed on what you've been doing with that. So I just want to give a little context to our listeners on what's
100%.
happening there.
Yeah.
So John.
Well, I wanted to dial back a little bit to some of the things you were talking about, doing happy hours at WeWork and other places.
Yeah.
And not really so much the nuts and bolts in that, but the thoughts around, because we have a lot of people that listen to us that are in similar situations. They're entrepreneurs, they own small business, and that's about creating community. So I wonder if you could just maybe talk about that a little bit.
Do you mind reframing the question just a little bit?
So
no, because that could go a bunch of ways. So just want to make sure I'm.
Well, no, I was just, you know, the way your product is, well, the way the drinks business is it's supposed to be enjoyed with other people, correct? So you go through your business every day, but then you realize, oh, we're doing this to bring people together.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe share a story of a success where you really thought that there was that vibe in the room after just having this idea to create community, and what it meant for you and how that came about. Okay.
So you might need to like rein me in on this, because I could go on and on about this for like
we've got time.
Okay.
We need to keep you up for 24 hours.
Okay. So all right. So our not to get like way too serious about this, but like our whole purpose for having this company is to spread conviviality. We want to make it easier and more enjoyable to connect with your friends and family. And I think ultimately, like, that is what everybody's seeking, right? Is connection with other people. Like, to me, that's one of the very main purposes of being a human and being alive. So the kind of like funny catalyst to when we started this is, you know, I was having these events at my house. I was just having parties, small things. And it was always kind of a stressful situation. And there was all this pressure on me because people know that I'm in the cocktail spirits world. And then it's, you know, oh, like, you know, we've seen all your stuff on Instagram and we blah, 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 blah. So it was always like a lot of pressure. And I wasn't that I was having a lot of these parties, but on numerous occasions, I was finding myself not being able to connect with my friends at all, because I was literally running back and forth and making the drinks. And so one of the reasons that we started this was like, okay, this should not be this difficult to provide like hospitality to your friends and loved ones. Like, that's kind of that first thing. But I believe that people are, you know, every culture eats and drinks, whether they drink alcohol or not. And so this is just like a really natural circumstance in which to come together and to commune. And it's just been so interesting because the evolution of beverage, you know, in the past 5 years in particular, has been a bit quirky, right? We've started seeing mocktails appearing everywhere. And I had my own sort of like little crusade with that. We're seeing non-alcoholic distilled spirits arriving on the market with, you know, huge success. And then as we get closer, as we discussed a bit in our last conversation, but as we get closer to federal deregulation in the cannabis space, all of a sudden there's this kind of potential gold rush of beverages that have nothing to do with alcohol, but the purpose is to recreate and to connect and to socialize. So, I mean, for us, again, we want to foster more of these situations. We want to make connection in an increasingly disconnected world be easier and more enjoyable, right? And so for us, it's like, you know, WeWork has been a really great experience, and we're actually we're going to be doing a lot more of these happy hours there, and honestly, seeing what they do in those spaces. I think we've done almost 90 so far, just within New York City. And oh yeah, and we're going to be doing a lot more. But just seeing the community that they've created there, and we've done a bunch of events with Equinox, and seeing the community they've created there. It's just amazing to observe, because it's like people not like living their best lives, like in a sort of hip hop fashion, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but like it's people really like getting into that sort of like flow state, where they're like, I'm enjoying the work, I'm enjoying the social, I'm enjoying like being able to connect, like I'm enjoying having a tribe, like all this really interesting stuff. And so again, we are excited to continue to participate in that. It's not like we have a big, formal deal with like WeWork HQ, but we're doing these things, typically multiple times a week. And it's been awesome. And we've met amazing people, by the way, like, and very like-minded to us, like people who, really want to know like what's up with your business. Like they're curious about like how we manufacture and like all this stuff.
Oh, wow.
So it's really, it's a great group of people. We've made friends. We've gotten a lot of regular customers from it. So it's been awesome.
Very cool. And again, listeners, we're talking to April Wachtel from Swig and Swallow. You can find them at swigandswallow.com for their website, or as she mentioned, check out their Instagram feed at Swig and Swallow.
Yes.
And if they want to follow you, April, do you share that one very much? Or
sure. I mean, honestly, like my personal Instagram is kind of like meh. But CHTEL. No, it's like, it's really like, I was talking with Apartment Bartender, my guest on the podcast the other day, about this. And, he made the statement. I thought this was super interesting. When I said something about like, oh, I don't want to always depict just like a perfect life. He was like, well, that's not what it's about. It's kind of like, that's just how the platform works, is that people click on things that are good looking or beautiful. And I was like, that's really interesting. Cause like, I didn't want to feel bound to create a specific image. Cause like, I want to just like live my life. Mm-hmm. But I thought that was a really, really interesting call about being like, okay, well, this is like, if I'm putting content out there, like I want it to fit into the platform. But mine still looks like shit. So that's
interesting. I see that perspective, but I don't know how much I agree with it.
And yeah, I mean, me too. I'm not going to go make mine beautiful right now.
Right. You know, I think that I would say that I think that to get the initial hook with them, that may be the case. But once you find somebody that you like, it doesn't matter, So that is interesting. Yeah. Jeff, any other questions?
Oh, I got questions. I mean,
I'm like totally like going like this. I'm making you guys go in a bunch of weird directions.
No, we're doing that. We're doing that to you, and that's the thing. It's like the life of April is like this, and so I mean, we've each picked a different piece, and we're all like, yeah, I got like 3 pages left of notes that we can talk about, but we're running out of time. So Solomon.
Yeah, well, you talked about there being this potential like flood of folks going towards making recreational beverages that have to do with like deregulation of cannabis. And I heard from a little birdie, you've got a side project going on called literally Recreational Beverages LLC. And so I was hoping maybe you could talk a little bit about that. I know it might kind of be on hold a little bit, but could you let us know what that is about?
Yes. Well, again, I think the other 2 guys here are going to like hate me for saying this, but no, but literally like so there obviously have been a ton of different indicators that this is a thing, but I'm not joking. Our conversation the last time I was on really got me thinking about the space more, and not solely based on that, but based on that with other things, decided I wanted to launch a CBD sparkling water. So we made some prototypes. It's delicious. So we have a rosé version, and then we just have like a basically botanical herbaceous, like unflavored, but obviously still tastes like weed, version. So we made the prototypes. We've done a lot of the legwork in terms of sourcing and manufacturing, co-packing, blah, blah, blah. We obviously know a lot of the distribution channels. We have a lot of very interesting customers. And what was interesting is all of this was kind of transpiring leading up to Trump signing the Farm Bill for January 1st. And what we thought was going to happen was it was going to be kind of like an open opportunity after that point. Little did we know that the firm hand of the Department of Agriculture, the FDA, all those guys were going to basically make some very strong statements about using CBD in food and beverage. So I had, by the time all of that went down, I had already formed the company. So I technically have a company, Recreational Beverages LLC, that is doing nothing right now, but I can do anything I want with it. So that's exciting. And again, I'm still super interested in the space. I think I chatted with several CBD suppliers, and one of them made the comment, which is like, this is an opportunity for the kind of riffraff to, fall by the wayside. And for the legitimate companies that are interested in doing this the right way, we'll be in it. We're going to wait, and we'll be ready when everything's kosher, basically. So that's where we stand on that. And quite frankly, the timing worked really well because we had a couple of things that were kind of jumping off with Swig and Swallow. And by the way, Jeff, I don't even know if I mentioned this to you, but we're trying to rename the company. So we got a lot going on over here. And so it was actually a good time to say, you know what, decision, put this on hold for now. And we're going to revisit this when there's a little bit more clarity about moving forward.
Yeah, and I definitely think that clarity is going to come, but I also know that there's weird stuff that's happening even in California as of January 1st. It used to be legal for them to serve CBD cocktails in a regular drinking establishment, and that's now not on the table anymore. Yep. I think what some of our listeners might want to know, because obviously we see a lot of stuff about, because I know that you had to do some testing. A lot of, you see a lot of things about CBD in terms of benefits towards seizure control in folks with epilepsy. There's some anecdotal evidence about, helping inflammation and things like that. From a recreational perspective, if people were searching out that space, like what type of feel would they expect from a CBD product?
Well, that is a great question. And honestly, again, I am learning more about this space on a daily basis. From personal experience, we've experienced the range of no effect to a kind of chilled out effect. I have been again, there's a lot of perspectives out there. I've been informed by some folks that you should feel no effect whatsoever unless there is a larger portion of THC in there. And then that begets the question of, well, how much of this is placebo? Because it's in there. And I don't know how much you've delved into this, but I had heard actually on that podcast I was mentioning earlier, the on Being, there was an interview with this I think she's a psychologist. Her name is Ellen Langer, and she's like a professor at Harvard, et cetera, et cetera. And she was talking about the placebo effect, and she said, doctors are always skeptical of the placebo effect because they say it doesn't compare to medicine. And then she said, but if you look at it, if it cures the issues that ail somebody, placebo is a very potent and serious drug. So why be skeptical of it? So remains to be seen. We had sourced from 4 legitimate sources, let's just say, and some other less legitimate sources.
And then some one guy in the alley.
And then the dude I ran into. But again, there was a range of experience. So again, I can't speak to any of the, cures cancer, blah, 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 health, yada, yada. I can only speak to, what we've personally experienced. And quite frankly, we were never in it to say, this is like a health tonic, like consume this. We're in it to say, for people who want to be in a social setting and they want to drink something that's an alternative to alcohol, but still does something for you, this is for you. And it tastes delicious, by the way.
Word. I think we're all excited to see what happens if the gears start turning on that, and I think there's a lot of folks that are just interested in understanding more about that. I do have to ask another question. I know that John's chomping at the bit here, but just because I enjoyed watching your video blogs so much, how long have you been playing ukulele for?
Oh God, you uncovered those? Not very long. So I mean, I think I probably was doing it for like very regularly for a year and a half, maybe more. But yeah, I mean, I go through phases where like I had read some brilliant little creative book years ago where it was about creatives of all types. Typically, there's some affiliation with like visual. So it's like a lot of visual artists in there. But one person was saying, I have all these different creative outlets. So when I get tired of one, I can jump into another one and I'm refreshed. And so I tend to have like immersive sort of hobbies like that, where I get obsessed for a period of time. I dive in completely. I learn a ton. And then maybe I get tired of it or maybe I don't. So I did that with tango. I did that with ukulele. I'm actually taking voice lessons now. I just started. I think that's going to be more difficult to immerse myself in just because I'm so busy right now. But yeah, I mean, not that long. I'm not good, but I do enjoy it.
It's awesome. That reminds me of a 40-year-old guy I know that started skateboarding again.
It's like, no, but here's the thing: it's like we all have one life to live. Like I actually started learning to skateboard maybe 2 years ago, and again, I wasn't like into it, but it's just like it's like, hey, if you don't try it, you'll never know what it's like. So why not?
You'll never know what it's like to lose teeth.
Yeah, no, I know. I never like totally ate it on the skateboard, but I was like, this could definitely happen.
This you could see how it could go south quick.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%.
John, do you have another question?
Yeah, sort of, but it's going to be really hard to answer. I mean, the alcohol. just
bring it on.
Okay, John, can you just get like a yes or no question out?
No, I know. I want the difficult one. I like it.
All right, go for it, John.
Yeah.
Well, the alcohol industry is in all states is really regulated by 3 tiers, correct? Producers, distributors, and retailers. And it doesn't seem like the cannabis CBD industry is structured that way yet. Do you see that changing?
Oh God. I mean, obviously this is a single person's prediction. I assume that it will happen at some point. I don't know to what degree, and I don't know what lessons will have been learned from what's happened with the spirits industry. And obviously there's lobbyists and there's like a whole ton of, very powerful companies that want this thing to be a success. So I don't know. I think that regulation is inevitable. To what degree, who knows?
I think the 3-tier system is unconstitutional, by the way, but that's
I think if any of these large companies have anything to do with it, they're going to do as much as they can to prevent that from happening, because it's so prohibitive, even today. Liquor laws are different in every state.
Well,
it causes a ton of problems.
Maybe the cannabis CBD industry can break the back of the alcohol 3-tier system, and that would be a beautiful thing.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, and I think from a new product perspective, I don't think it's reasonable. I think the 3-tier system may have had some benefits at the time that they repealed prohibition, when everything was so much more state driven than it is now. But yeah, I can't see something like that taking effect with a new industry. But
yeah, I mean, I think I don't think anyone would retroactively create the liquor laws that exist in the US today. Right. So I think that, to the point of like, hey, we've seen what happened with that and we know how it turned out. My assumption is it won't be quite that fragmented, but
we'll see.
Yes.
Yeah, man, we're breaking the 3-tiered system with hacky sacks and lava lamps.
All right, guys. One last round for a question, if you got one. John says no. Jeff.
How long you been rock climbing?
You do your research. I've been rock climbing for about 8 years.
Was it so you can tie a lot of knots?
No, I actually don't
delay?
climb ropes most of the time. So
Oh, okay.
there's a few types of rock climbing. So there's rope climbing, and then there's climbing without ropes. So climbing without ropes, if it's low and on land, it's called bouldering. And if it's high, no ropes on land, it's free soloing. And then if it's over water, it's deep water soloing, no ropes. And then there's rope climbing. So there's top roping, which is kind of the most basic form, where it's like you and a belayer. There's sport climbing, which is when you bring the rope up, but all of the equipment's there. And then there's trad, which is when you bring everything up, including the rope.
Yeah,
I don't do that. I don't do the scary shit. I do.
Oh, come on! You're gonna free solo El Cap next week, right?
no, I went deep water soloing in Spain last year, and man, I am terrified of heights. No joke. But bouldering, it's a super communal sport. Obviously, it's coming into like public consciousness a lot more these days, especially with the movie. I'm forgetting what it's called.
The one where the guy has to cut his arm off?
No, not that one. Not that one.
Okay.
It just won an Oscar.
The one where Sylvester Stallone couldn't hold on tight enough?
No Sylvester Stallone. Real people. That's okay. None of us know what we're talking about. But but it's becoming a real thing. It's becoming a real sport. And super fun. And you guys should try, because it's very low. Like you don't have to know stuff to go in. You just have to be willing to try.
We just have to figure out what it's called.
My beer gut is too big to let me get.
No, that's not true. That's not true. That is not true.
It's my center of gravity is too far away from the surface of the rocks.
No. That's not true. And people are really friendly and supportive, and it's an awesome community. And
my son rock climbs. Waco Tanks.
Oh, well, there you go.
El Paso is a big place.
So listeners,
you know all about it.
As you can tell, the world of April is vast and incredibly interesting, and one that you should check out over a mixed cocktail made from Swig and Swallow. So
smooth.
My personal favorite, by the way, is still the margarita.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I didn't hear from the other two. Did you guys?
Yeah, we got it. Yeah, the margaritas.
Awesome. I like the margarita as well, and I have to be honest, I did add a little extra booze, just a little bit above the line.
I thought you did the Rosarita. Didn't you do the Rosarita?
I did a Rosarita with that. That's right. I did it with some Four Roses bourbon, Four Roses single barrel bourbon with the margarita mix. It was fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah, I did. I too did go past the dotted line and went fully to the rim for my drinks when I made them. But I have to tell you, I made the margarita. I did an Instagram story on that one. I made that, and I was drinking it, and my mother-in-law was there, and she said, "Can I have a taste of it?" And I said, "Sure." And she took a taste of it, and I didn't get the glass back.
Well, I have to send you some more.
So it was a big hit throughout the house. So, but it was just what you were saying, different drinks for different people who wanted them.
Yep.
They enjoy doing it. It's, they get into the shake, they get into the shake of it, and it's a lot of fun, and they're great drinks. So thank you for that and for everything else you do. It's wonderful to know you as a person and as an entrepreneur and everything else.
So sweet.
So if nobody else has any questions, April, we will say, thank you for joining us. You're off the hot seat. I know we ask some difficult questions on this show. It's just brutal. Who's the guy that comes out and surprises people on never mind. I'm just going to move on.
Yeah, that one guy.
Alan Lunt, candid camera. That's going way back.
I thought he was going to do like a Jerry Springer thing, like.
So, April, we're going to move on with the show. We would love to have you stick around with us.
I'm going to stick around.
Awesome. So let's get into some hard-hitting booze news. We discuss interesting, noteworthy. I'm just going to leave it at that tonight because we've got some good stuff to talk about, don't we, John?
Yeah. So, hey, we're talking about really some high quality cocktails from April's company, Swig and Swallow. So let's talk about some low quality stuff from Budweiser and Keurig. So apparently Keurig, Dr. Pepper, InBev, whatever the heck they're calling themselves these days, they've got a machine with pods, which are environmentally not very compatible, right? And you just stick your pod in the machine, press a button, and you can ask for it to be just water. You can ask for it to be carbonated. They're actually coming out with the beer pods, but they have mixed drink pods too. So here it's push button fun, folks. Push a button and get some sort of mixed cocktail, some sort of beer flavored. What did you call that stuff that we threw against the wall, Jeff?
Chunder
in your glass, floating around for the low price of $399. And
There's so many issues with this.
It'll be available in Missouri or St. Louis. Looks like they're going to have 24 different recipes in this machine, which is that's not bad for something to start, actually. But a 4-pack of pods is going to be $16, $15.99. So I mean, there's just so much wrong with this, but let's let April just like tear down the statue of Lenin and that is this whole beverage crapola that Budweiser wants to send our way.
Okay, so again, I know I'm one person here, but I have a whole ton of issues with this. So firstly, like I personally hate appliances, and I don't. I don't think most people have a ton of space to put things in the first place. But I mean, I think from like a cocktail perspective, I went obviously on their website, I looked at their ingredients, yada, yada. And these are effectively ready to drink mixers in a pod form, which you put it in the machine, it brings it down to temperature and it adds water. Dilution is important to cocktails. We know that. But to me, paying, whatever, $400 for a machine that does that doesn't make any sense. Quality is not going to be any better whatsoever. To your point, there's beer flavored, whatever. That's an option. I also don't think, and I could be wrong on this, but like we know that there's very popular cocktails out there. But I would question what's the long-term value add for investing in a machine that you always have to buy these kind of like subpar cocktails from? If you're like a serious cocktail person, like all trends would suggest that we're heading towards fresher, real ingredients, transparency. These are no-name spirits, in these mixes. Like most people have a brand affinity of some sort with a spirits brand. So you're kind of like fighting an uphill battle there. So I think that this is like I think that the folks who structure this partnership were like, we're losing market share, or like beer market's contracting. Like, what do we do? Like, we want to make the next Soda Stream. And I think that's where, if I had to guess, I think that's where it started. And they were like, well, what can we do that makes sense to both of us? That kind of, it's a machine that people like, it takes up real estate in somebody's kitchen. And so it's going to make them commit to us. I just hate everything about it. Like everything about it, like literally from the first, like the idea of the machine to the execution to like everything. I'm one person. I'm sure people are going to buy it. Right.
But I think you hit it right in your very first piece on it. It's all there. They're just adding water or carbonated water. Like, why do I need a $400 machine to pierce a little piece of tin foil and plastic and pour some carbonated water through it? Yeah.
Did you see there was a Today? I actually think the link was from their site. It was Anchors on the Today Show tried it out. Did you see this?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so Anchors on the Today Show tried it out, and they can't like get it to work initially. And then they put it was like for the sangria, they put a glass with ice and garnish in it under the thing, and the glass was the wrong size with the ice and the garnish, and so it just overflowed everywhere. It was like, I was like, oh my god, like this is like everything about this is a disaster.
Perfect.
If you want to pay the big bucks for an appliance on your counter to help you make better cocktails, how about buying a fucking juicer?
a juicer, but a soda stream. I mean, for people who want effervescence, like I own a soda stream, I get that 100%, because people who like bubbles love bubbles, and the waste that's associated with whatever, shotgunning LaCroix and then throwing those out. Like I 100% get that. That's clear value add, and you can do it, non-alcoholic. You can add it to your cocktails, blah blah blah. But again, I think the functionality of this is so. Like there was another thing I actually posted this to LinkedIn the other day. They have a White Russian, like that's, comes with the whatever shelf stable milk in there. And like from a functional perspective, it's like every time you're in a bar where somebody makes a cocktail with milk or with cream, you have to spend forever washing the tins out. And if you ever have cleaned an espresso machine, you have to spend a ton of time washing that out. So from a functional perspective, like practically speaking, if you make a White Russian in this thing, do you then have to run cleaner through the system forever before you can get another cocktail? I just don't know. I think the whole thing sounds like an accident.
Yeah.
And, and again, I think of, what is the wine dispenser, the with the Pierce,
the thing, the Vinturo, the Vino Verde.
No, that's a wine.
So yeah, this is great rating right here. But yeah, that
thing that everybody buys. Val Caruso is freaking out, yelling at us right now.
Everybody is screaming at us right now.
Dimitri stopped watching. Nobody can handle it. The thing.
The Coravin.
That's it.
The Coravin versus the other thing.
The wine diaphragm.
Help me out here, Jeff Sullivan.
The diaphragm that you float over the top of your
the
wine.
Repour. I'm trying to let you speak to it like you know what you're talking about. The Coravin versus the Repour. $300 versus $1.
$1.
And it's the same kind of thing here. $300 for this, or get honestly $8 for a Swig and Swallow, and it's more natural, and you can adjust the alcohol level to your liking that you can't do with this thing. So I agree. This is a waste of space and time and money.
So we actually. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just feel like we really also need to emphasize, John, you bring this up like it's just passing by. Like, what's this weird beer beverage thing that they're making out of there as well? Like it's a condensed beer that you add soda water to.
What the hell is that? Did you ever look at the ingredients for what this beer concentrate is?
I couldn't bring myself to do
it. This is an Anheuser-Busch product, right?
Oh well, who's surprised by that? I mean,
Space
seriously,
dust in a pod. There you go.
What's interesting is you're seeing these large companies grasping at straws, is what I think you're seeing.
Yeah,
grasping at straws, and not understanding. Like you said, the transition to fresh that they just can't get.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. So, I mean, you guys might or might not know this, but I had spoken to a bunch of VCs. So initially, we thought we were going to raise venture capital very early. I knew nothing about this. I'm still teaching myself about this, a ton of this. But the point is, I've spoken to a whole bunch of VCs. I appreciate that. No, and that's the plan. Is we're not raising any capital right now. Like it's all self-funded, yada yada yada. But I think that one of the interesting things that came from a lot of them is a lot of them said, "Listen, we think you guys are the right team. We love the idea. What we can't get comfortable with is how fragmented the market is." So I think, when I look at this type of the Anheuser-Busch Keurig partnership, it looks like that's probably like a sort of small attempt to say, well, is there any viability in this? Like we know, a lot of dollars are moving into the off-premise from all of this, delivery and whatever, subscription meal kits and things like that. So people are seeing the dollars go from on-premise to off-premise. And I think they're trying to figure out how to capture those dollars on the beverage side. and saying, okay, well, there's no real great single kind of like cocktail solution in the off premise. So I definitely don't blame them for trying. And oftentimes you can't know an answer unless you give it a whirl. But I just hate like everything about this thing. I just keep coming back. I hate it.
I can smell the disdain.
Jeff, did you have any thoughts on this?
Buy a juicer.
Oh, that's right. All right. So I think it's a rounding pshaw from the panel on this contraption. If you want to send John Ruyak one, just let me know. I'll give you his address, though.
We prefer a microwave. We don't have one of those.
I guess I
don't have any real estate on my countertop for a microwave.
I think the thing is, I think craft cocktail makers, I think the folks at Swig and Swallow should be happy that Anheuser-Busch is paying them this compliment. Like, we're going to try to enter this space. We're going to try to perfect something that's already been perfected. And they just failed miserably. This really did sound like, just some bros broing out like, dude, we're going to make like the Keurig of drinks. It's going to be awesome. Because that's the big pitch, right?
Right.
We're like the grinder of cupcake recipes.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I had a conversation with some folks who are basically providing like food recipes as well as cocktail recipes for Alexa, for Amazon Alexa. And so I can see the opportunity in voice for sure. I don't know what it looks like. And there's still, again, cocktails are so complicated because there's just so much labor that goes into the manufacture. Like, firstly, of extracting and preserving fresh juice. That's, thing one. And then thing two is any and all the syrups, which are so essential to so many craft cocktails and classic cocktails. It's such a pain in the ass that, like, I don't think that voice itself is the only solution, but I can see how that's like, okay, Alexa's already there. There's already like, an increased use of like devices that are voice enabled. So I can see that having a lot more potential. But again, I think like the hardware solution of like plunk, we're going to capture kitchen space and like own that space is just like, it's just a weird one. And I think not the right solution, but I'm going to stop like trash talking right now.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
don't stop.
Also, I mean, I wanted to move on like 5 minutes ago.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Can you imagine
we should
trying
file a class action lawsuit against Anheuser-Busch?
Oh.
Sorry.
Can you imagine trying to have a party with these things? Like the 12 deep line at the Keurig. Click.
That is actually kind of funny, though. Like, I imagining that is actually awesome.
And by the way, can I just say something?
Mm-hmm.
Keurigs are garbage.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, man. If I'm at your house, you should have a Keurig so I can make coffee whenever I want. But like,
wait, we had this conversation last time.
If you care about your own coffee, make your own coffee. Don't do a Keurig. Yeah.
All right. Well, sorry. If we're on 22 minutes of straight trash talk about something, it must be.
Oh yeah.
Last call.
Last call.
Last call.
Time to clean house and lock the doors. So you know what you do, Felix. What did I say? You know what we do here, folks. It's time to break out your phones and try to help us out. So you can follow us on the socials. We're on Twitter at We Like Drinking 1. That's the number 1. On Instagram at We Like Drinking, or find our private Facebook group, The Tavern. Visit welikedrinking.com/tavern to get transferred there. April, one last time while I can still speak, what is the best place for people to find you on the social medias?
Oh, we're Swig and Swallow. So at Swig and Swallow, SWIGAND SWALLOW. And then if you're interested in my quirky vlog, I know it's a blog, vlog that has no real purpose but exists, just look me up, April Wachtel, on YouTube. Wachtel, Wachtel.
Yep, check it out. Jeff Solomon, if the listeners have some reviews to post about our show, where can they do it?
Well, you're already listening on your favorite podcast catcher app, so you're halfway there. It's probably Apple Podcasts, which makes it even better, right? Eccles doesn't like the app. I think it's a quality app, but that's just me. Scroll on down, start poking where you see all the stars. Give us a big fat 5-star review. And honestly, we'd love to see your feedback too. Are there things that we could do better? Do you want me to tell you how to run your business? I can do that. Just leave that review, y'all.
Jeff Solomon did not talk to AB and Bev about the curing for big streaks. John Ruyak, if the people are listening to this show and their wallet is just burning a hole in their pocket and they want to give us some money, how can they do that?
Well, you could visit welikedrinking.com/pledge and find out more information about becoming a patron and helping us out, the show, getting some cool stuff.
Yeah, look at those headphones you guys got.
Yeah. Well, no, the patrons would get cool stuff like guacamole recipes, coconut porter recipes,
all the good stuff, all the stickers,
coasters.
I love the coasters.
I
do love the coasters.
The coasters are cool.
All right. So you can also find the show notes for this episode with all the links to the stories or mentions we had at welikedrinking.com/podcast. Or if you're on your phone right now, swipe right or swipe down or whatever.
Poke.
But it's reached a time where I get to say, okay, panel, let's take one last trip around this table and get some final thoughts before we shut off the lights. John Ruyak.
Right. All right. So, Jeff, your mom sent me a picture about this snake living under her place there in Florida there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if any small dogs disappear, call the wildlife management office in Florida. They got those python things there. You don't want some 10-footer under there like disrupting the neighborhood.
Okay, it may also be the gator in the canal behind us, but
there you go.
Jeff Solomon.
Okay, I wasn't gonna let the show go by without telling April how to run her business.
That was mine too. I was gonna ask you for advice.
Here we go. When
hold on. First, you got to tell me to stop something.
Stop the music.
Okay, now you go ahead.
When some wise guy comes up to you at a tasting and goes, "Hey, is this thing half empty or half full?" What you say is, "It's half full, sir. If this ever gets half empty, you got to come back and buy more." No.
That was not your best work. No offense.
Shit. Bring the music back.
April, any final thoughts before we let you get out of here?
Well, I guess I just wanted to say that I wanted to tell Jeff Solomon I did not yet launch the product that he suggested last time, which was the empty bottle on April 1st. April's the empty bottle is just like a mist of vermouth. I haven't done it yet, but I still have time.
I forgot about that.
Just wanted to let you guys know I haven't forgotten.
Awesome. April, it's amazing. We've done 2 episodes with you, and really, I don't even think we've scratched the surface, but I appreciate you so much coming back to the show. Listeners, I do hope you'll check out Swig and Swallow, a fantastic product, and check out our vlog, whatever the hell you want to call it, and make sure you get some Swig and Swallow. And April, again, thank you for joining us for a second time.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Absolutely. Awesome. And with that, I'll say, thanks again for joining us at the We Like Drinking podcast, where you'll never drink alone. So much chaos. So much chaos. Listeners, thank you so much. Or viewers, I should say. Thank you so much for watching. Folks, if you're still at the Port Ebel, get the fuck out and go home. All right, guys.